Ready to take the helm of your very own NFL team? Welcome to the ultimate beginner's guide to franchise mode in Madden 24. Strap in as I dive into the adrenaline-fueled world of football management, where you'll learn all the inner workings to franchise mode and its features. Before jumping in, like I said, this is a beginner's guide, so if you already have franchises or run them, you probably know pretty much all of this stuff. I don't expect you to watch this whole video, but I just ask that you please leave a like, as it helps this video gets pushed out to potentially new Madden users. And if there's any questions in the comment section, help out the community, because we all have knowledge that can truly be beneficial. So let's dive in. Creating a franchise. So there's online versus offline. Online franchises are for saving your franchises to the cloud. They're only saved there and saved automatically. They also allow online play, so you can play with others. Offline franchises, on the other hand, are only saved locally on your device, and you can save and load at certain points, unlike an online franchise, which I think is an amazing feature that honestly really needs to be carried over to the online franchise. For each type, you have real life roster, where you start with the current real NFL rosters and stats based on that point in the season, or active roster, which is your current active roster loaded locally in your game. If you wanted custom rosters, you can download them from the community files and load them before starting your franchises. So let's choose a role. You can choose between the player, owner, or coach. On this screen, it shows what each does, with the biggest difference being player is obviously player locked. And the main difference between coach and owner mode is that owner mode allows you to manage the finances of your team, to make funds, and also player bonuses come out of your funds. So you really have to manage your finances and funds to try to actually continue to build your team and make sure you don't go negative. However, don't worry, if you go negative, I have a video on how to fix that. So tailoring your league with settings. So there's a lot you can do, and a lot of it is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm only going to really touch over some of the ones that you might be confused about. And if you have any questions, you can just ask in the comments, and I, or hopefully someone in the community, can answer. So with the game style settings, there's 3 different styles: arcade, simulation, and competitive. Arcade is for those leagues where you really just want to have fun. You get crazy animations, it's very easy and tuned down. Competitive is for the competitive leagues, and it's a little more harder, and it's the default setting for online, ranked, and tournament. So if you've ever played in those, that's what it's gonna feel like. And simulation is more for a realistic approach for non-head-to-head leagues. I typically play on this, especially when I'm doing CPU versus CPU franchises. Play call cooldown and play call limit setting allows you to set play call limits on how much or how often you can use a specific play call, so you can't just spam the same play. Team settings is where you can actually set whether certain aspects of your franchise are manually done or automated to make things easier. It's all pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. The reorder depth chart setting, however, I would highly recommend turning it off. Turning it off prevents the CPU from automatically adjusting your roster after every roster move, injuries, free agency, additions, trades. Keeping it on makes you have to manually change almost every position, because it could put a 77 overall over, say, an X Factor 76 overall rookie because of the overalls, and every little change you do to your roster changes it if you don't have that off. Trust me, have it off. It's going to save you a lot of time. And the commissioner settings, free agency motivation impact, is how much the player motivation is impacted. You can make it so they really rely on them, or make it so they don't really care. Practice squad ceiling, I recommend having it off, just because in real life you can still practice squad players, but teams have the option to match that contract, and the player can choose to either stay with the team or go with that other team. In Madden, you just steal them, so it's a bit unrealistic. Relocation settings allows you to change who can relocate. I recommend putting it to everyone. This allows you to relocate or change your stadium regardless of the level, and I recommend putting the staff talent cost modifier to slow, as this allows you to have to actually get good coaches or develop the coaches long term, because having every coach maxed out fast can kind of get a bit unrealistic and unfun. Finally, I recommend turning practice squad injury and pre-existing injuries off, and turning progressive fatigue off. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory and pretty much personal preference. So a lot of this I'm only going to briefly touch over, because I have a lot of in-depth guides on the franchise features already that I'll link in the description, or you can check out the playlist that will be linked in the description to see all of them. For starters, you have gameplay sliders, which allows you to manipulate CPU and player skill and tune how often penalties are called or injuries occur. I actually have a video on the best CPU versus CPU sliders in Madden 24, and CPU versus CPU franchises, you don't really play the games, you just super sim on slow mode and watch them, which I actually really enjoy, and you might do that as well if you haven't, so give it a try. There's also an XP slider for changing the rate of XP you get per position, and I also have a video on that for the best CPU versus CPU XP slider, so check that out if you want to get into CPU versus CPU franchises. Managing your staff gives you 4 options: franchise stats for hiring and firing, and also upgrading skill tree, team schemes, formation subs, and auto subs. And franchise staff, each coach has their own unique player tree based on the scheme they like running, and the player personnel has its own skill tree as well. All head coach skill trees, however, are the same. Team scheme simply allows you to change your team scheme. Having a better scheme fit gets players that fit it more XP on a weekly basis. You can also change the offensive playbook and defensive playbooks, which changes the plays that your team runs, especially in ACP versus CP franchises. Manage roster gives you plenty of things to do for your team, including seeing your team roster, going to the trade center, checking available free agents, managing your depth chart, seeing your team salaries, which gives you an accurate display of what players are making the most money, costing the most money to keep, and their penalty for releasing or trading them, or how much you would save by doing so, and seeing a display of your cap space and expected cap space for the following year. Resign plays allows you to negotiate contracts starting week 3, and if players have 5th year options, you can also accept those in the off season. I'm not going to talk about contracts or salaries in depth. Like I said, I have a great in-depth guide for both of those already, and I'll link those down in the description, so you can just easily go click those if you want to actually watch them to learn more about those. In managed team, you have 6 options: stadium, team value, finances, marketing, fan happiness, and team success. To be honest, literally the only 2 important ones in my opinion are stadium and the finances. Stadium allows you to upgrade your stadium, rebuild your stadium, or relocate. Finances allows you to set your ticket, merchandise, and concessions prices to try to make a profit and increase your funds, which you will need. I'm not going to go over finances in depth because I actually came out with the best sweet spot prices video with the help of a Redditor, which gives you the best prices that you should have for each to try to make the most money on a weekly basis. And finally, in the off season, you get to fire and sign new staff. Some of your staff may actually get hired elsewhere if you do good enough, or if they do good enough, and you can sign free agents and negotiate their contracts. One cool thing is after you're done making all the active negotiations for that week, instead of simming to the next day, you can just eval offers up to 3 times by pressing L3 on the PlayStation or the left analog stick on an Xbox, which evaluates the offers so you can make more negotiations and see if anyone accepts the offer before simming to the next stage of the free agency. After the next stage of the offseason is the draft, which again is pretty self-explanatory. I didn't go in depth on a lot of things just because I have many in-depth guides already for certain features and things you can do in franchise mode, and you can check that playlist out. If you feel like I missed something or would like me to go in depth for a topic that I don't already have a video on, let me know in the comment section below and I can definitely get that video out for you guys. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comment section, and hopefully myself or somebody in the community can answer that for you. As always, please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content or if this video helps, as it helps out this channel a lot. I love you guys to the moon and back. I'm out. Peace.
Best YouTuber in the world. Sub to Cosmos. Best YouTuber in the world. Yeah, great content back to back. Bitch dropping like flapjacks. Like, comment, need feedback. 1K subs, appreciate that. For a moolah, stay on track. Keep on shining my stars. I love you to the moon and back.